What's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great week. Just wanted to touch base with you. I was actually doing some study time on James 4:2, where it says, "You have not because you ask not." So actually, in the research I was doing is on the word "ask" in that promise. And two of the definitions that kind of really stood out to me was the word "demand" and the word "invite." So you have not because you demand not. You have not because you didn't invite. So I thought about that. I was like, really, when you're looking at that, you need to invite the person that brings the promise before you can make a demand on it. So I know if you're born again, that's awesome and great. But until you truly invite him in to make him your Lord, it's kind of hard to make a demand on something that you don't know that belongs to you. It's like if my wife and I are sitting around, I was sitting on the couch, and I was like, "Hey, can you pass me the magazine?" It's not the fact that I don't own the magazine, because I know that I do. All I'm doing is inviting her to participate in me receiving it. See, God's already paid the price. Jesus already paid for it all. So since we know he paid for it all, the fact of the matter is, what demands are we actually putting on those promises? It's like we're having a party, and I'm having all my friends over. We're hooping and hollering. We're having a great time. We're shaking and everything, and the next morning, the house is disarray. Everyone's left, and it's like me calling my neighbor down the street and said, "Hey, I need you to stop by my home so you can help clean my house." And they're like, "Well, you never invited me. So why are you placing a demand on me to show up to clean your home when I was never invited?" And I want you to think about that, because a lot of Christians are trying to make demands on those promises, but in a sense have never truly invited Christ in to be their Lord. It's like you read things, but see, it's not just about the promises, it's about him. And once you receive him and making him that Lord in that position, then all those promises, it's just like me and my wife sitting on the couch. "Hey, can you pass me that?" Because you know it's yours. But see, at the same time, it's like in Luke 5, Peter was sitting there, and he's got back in from fishing, didn't catch anything, he's over cleaning his nets. Jesus is talking to the crowd along the shore. He asks if he can use the boat, move out as a platform. Once he gets done, he comes over to Peter, said, "Hey, look, you can go ahead and go out there and cast your nets." And Peter's like, I understand what you're saying, but he's going through his own wisdom. "Man, I'm a professional fisherman. I've been out all night. I know what's going on, da 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 da." But he said, "At your word, I will go out." When Peter went out, he only threw a net. Jesus told him to throw nets with an S. And think about that. When the fish started hitting the net, it started to break. So that tells you it was an old net because it started to break. If you're tending to your stuff, you're maintaining it, and it's prepared for growth and development. So with that in mind, and then of course Peter calls in his buddies. They bring out their boat. They're full, and then Peter falls to Jesus' knee, and just basically, "I'm ashamed. Get away from me. I'm a sinful man." And you think, well, why didn't he fall to his feet? Probably because there were so many fish, he couldn't get to his feet. So think about that. When you invite the person and you're making a demand on that promise, and when you hear that person or the Holy Spirit tell you, "Hey, I need you to give $10 to the next 10 people you see," there's no reason to try to justify or run that through you. You just obey that. Obedience is key. And it's like once you start to do that, it's like it takes the pressure off of you. And think about this, is that you got to be specific. So when you're making a demand on those promises, you want to be specific, because faith loves to be specific. See, faith understands how God operates because faith was created by God. So even like in Mark 5, where Jairus, Jesus is in there talking, a bunch of people there, Jairus kind of goes right up to Jesus and says, "Hey, look, I know my daughter's sick. I know if you come, lay your hands on them, she will live." He was very specific. First, he came to the person who had the answer. 2, he invited the person that had the answer. And then 3, the person that had the answer went with Jairus. So think about that when you're walking through your day. It's like, have I invited God into these situations? Am I putting a demand on the promise that he provided to me, since that's what's available for me on the table? And 3, am I being specific? Those are the 3 things I want to kind of address today with that when James 4:2, you have not because you haven't invited and placed a demand on who has the answer that you're looking for. So you guys be blessed. I really appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to, I see they're getting ready to open up here, hopefully in the next couple weeks, our state, which is awesome. And I'll see you guys soon.